It took everything I had. Next week? I think next week should be a good week to go see Deadpool and Wolverine if you're still interested in that.
I am still interested in that.
I figured give it a week in theaters to get crazy, and then maybe a week where we can enjoy it, and it's not
I've heard good
too
things.
packed. Yeah.
I've heard nothing specific.
I only listened to one non-spoiler review.
I've avoided the Ryan George pitch meeting that came out.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, I haven't seen that one yet, so
yeah,
totally avoiding it. But next week, Thursday, because I have a lesson in the afternoon, is pretty much the only day I probably wouldn't be good for as of now.
Okay.
But take your time, think it over. Maybe we can chat about it on Saturday at the gig. If you figure out a day that would be good.
I mean, realistically, I'm free any day. I can make any evening work.
So. Excellent. All right, well, we'll maybe look at some times on Saturday.
Yeah. Sounds good to me.
Excellent.
Oh, man. All right. You can't hear my fan, right?
No, I can't hear anything.
I didn't think you could with this beast going.
No.
Do I sound just angelic and perfect? I mean, is there any... Do I sound too loud? Do I sound too quiet? It is a brand new mic for me to be adjusting.
No, I don't think you sound wrong in any way.
Yes.
Just wait until you say something that's questionable, and then...
It's hard for me to have strong opinions on the award show because it's all data-driven.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, granted, it's
I have opinions.
On our opinions.
Yeah, it's all of it. Yeah, and I mean, I have opinions about my awards that I've given out.
Oh yeah, that's fair. I don't know. I have a hard time thinking we'll disagree too much.
Yeah. I'll tell you, there were two that were tricky, but there's definitely one award that there are just like basically no candidates for.
Correct. You're not.
Well, right. I have an answer, but
so do I.
Okay. Wonder if it's the same one.
I have answers for all of them, but I completely agree with you. All right.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's give it a whirl. Let's give it a whirl. Yeah, I'm ready now.
3, 2, 1.
It's time for the Totem Talks Awards show.
Show. Yeah. Yeah, you probably could have edited that in post and made echoes if you really wanted to, but that's all right.
No.
That's a lot of work. That's a lot of work. You're right.
If we don't live perform the echo, then it doesn't actually count.
I agree. All right, you know what? I'm patting myself on the back then. I did a good job.
No, you're nicking yourself on the back.
That's right.
I would pat myself on the back.
I'm all right.
Oh, man. Are you just exhausted after this season?
I'm really looking forward to a different season.
Listen, I agree. I'm with you. I'm living the dream right now because the season is done. It was a bit of a rough one.
It was.
And I think there will be certain data points that reflect that.
I agree.
But we got through it.
It's over.
We got through it. And as always, I think we veered towards the positive. Right?
We learned from it.
We learned from it. That's a good way to look at it. We learned and we came out stronger on the other side.
That's right.
Before we get too far, you're Nick, I'm Pat. This is Totem Talks. If this is your first episode, I'm going to say this.
Very strange
Don't
place.
watch it.
No, this is a terrible
Don't.
place to start.
Yeah, go back. There's 25 episodes. Really 26 if you count the best of the rest.
That's right.
Between when you should start watching the show and watch this episode. So this is the award show for season 7 of Totem Talks. All of the artists that we spent an entire season scoring and listening and discussing, all lumped into some data points, and then some awards come out of them.
That's right.
We have the best and worst in each of our categories. So each of our 5 categories, and then also for the best, we also have X Factor as one of our categories.
That's right.
Then the overall winner and overall loser. And then we also have some side categories here. We have our biggest surprise of the season. These are individual for Nick and myself.
That's right.
We have our biggest disappointment of the season. We have our biggest upset, which is usually a score-based thing. That's how it differs from disappointment.
Right.
Like think sports and upset. We have what we call the wait and see award. So an artist who typically doesn't have the pedigree, or typically the direction they've gone in has not been, to their full potential in our eyes, and we want to wait and see what becomes of them.
Sure.
Our overall worst album listen of the year. So that could be a single album. It could be one of the artists. It could be a full episode. Whatever fits that category for us.
These categories
and then I have
are
our highest and lowest rated episodes.
Okay.
So I take the scores, combine them, average it out. We see who did the best and who did the worst.
Okay. I think I know it's going to be the worst this season. I have an inkling.
That's fair.
When we get there, I'll guess.
And that's it. And we'll also go over our 15 top artists of the season.
That's right.
So this season there was 50 artists.
Yes.
As is typical of our new format. So season 6 we have a new format. This is our second season of the new format, season 7. So instead of 75 artists, we've shaved that down to 50. But I can tell you, Nick, that we covered this season, we have officially have 476 total artists that we've covered on the show.
Excellent. I love it.
Which is just a wild number.
That's a lot of music that we've listened to.
It truly is. So just an incredible amount of data. It takes forever to scroll from the top to the bottom of this list.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll tell you, we have 2 artists that are in the S tier for us, the green tier.
Sure.
And then we have, let's just look.
No one entered our top tiers this season at all.
No. We have 10 artists in the F tier, though. So 5 times as many bad artists in the worst as there are in the best. And that's our overall.
And we're harsh graders, too, to be fair. We're pretty harsh.
We are, although,
we're rough.
So I looked at our data, right? Okay. Out of the first 6 seasons, 3 of our average scores. So you think we have a score thing that goes to 55, but really it's, 5 categories of 10 and then the X Factor. You take away the X Factor, and it's 5 scores for a total of 50 points. The first 6 seasons, we have 3 that are above that and 3 that are below that.
Okay.
So we're right around the middle. And
we're getting there.
Yeah, we have our season 1 and season 2, we both were in the 26 point something range.
Okay. So
3,
a little
4,
bit higher.
And 5, we were a little more negative. We were in that 24 range.
Okay.
Although season 3 was like 24.8, so it was close.
Sure. That's
season
not terrible.
6, we were up to a 26 again.
Okay. But that's so close. And it would be more of an aberration to get 25 exactly as an average than to be within a point or 2 either way each season.
Fully agree. Would you like to take a guess at what our average
it's definitely down
is this season?
23.7.
Nick, it is 23.8.
Holy shit.
You were right there.
Damn.
23.8.
Okay.
By far the lowest we've had. 24.1 on season 5 was our second lowest score.
Okay.
So a full 0.3 under.
Wow.
Which just goes to show you this was a rough season.
Yeah, and the smaller, especially compared to season 5, the smaller sample sizes, there's less chance to regress to the mean. So
Sure.
if like we have a handful of outliers, then that could really influence the season stats compared to the first 5 seasons.
And it did.
That's math.
Yeah, that is good math.
That's right. We've learned today.
So what I want to do first, okay? Obviously, we have our top 15 artists.
Obviously.
I want to take numbers 15 to 11.
Where?
And just reminisce about them. I want to take them on a trip. Just
Excellent.
take them somewhere.
Down memory lane.
Exactly. So number 15, an artist that I think this artist, more than some of the other ones we're going to cover, shows you the overall strength of the season.
Oh, boy.
Because number 15 with a score of 26.7 is Ariana Grande.
Yikes.
Yeah, who is very, very culturally impactful and very, very talented at singing.
But not at all
else.
making music that we enjoyed.
Not much else. The other two categories were songwriting and poetic were both in the 2 and 1 and still made the top 15 of the list. Ariana Grande was from our 6th episode this season.
Okay.
So, just so we're all aware. In episode 6, she competed against the Monkees and narrowly defeated the Monkees. Hey, they are indeed the Monkees, and a narrow victory for Miss Grande.
Okay.
Moving on to number 14, from the 23rd episode this season, we have Cheap Trick.
Oh, okay.
Cheap Trick, who we did cover also on Best of the Rest.
We did.
And a very different overall score. If you just look at their scores, much more, they're the average of every category.
yeah, for sure.
So rather than Ariana, who has some highs but some real lows, Cheap Trick just kind of
rode the middle a little bit.
Right in the middle there. Moving on to 13, we have a band so nice they named it twice, Duran Duran from episode 24. Okay. So we were in a more positive mood towards the end of the season.
Yeah, I guess so.
Just for reference here, Ariana Grande with a 26.7. We jumped to 28.1 for Cheap Trick.
Okay.
And then 28.4 for Duran Duran.
Okay, so we haven't even hit the 30s yet.
No, and we will not hit the 30s before
in this segment. Okay, fair enough.
So Duran Duran's best category was cultural impact, which makes sense.
Sure.
We followed that up with The Carpenters with a 29.3.
Okay.
And that was from episode 10 this season.
Right.
The Carpenters really relying on their breadth of work to move them up a little bit.
Well, they put out a lot of albums very quickly, though.
A full point. Yeah, well.
And sold a lot.
Yeah, I think it was that one more so.
Yeah.
And then we're rounding out our first segment here with number 11. You want to take a wild guess, just a stab in the dark, Nick. I'll give you the score, 29.6.
29.6. An artist that we covered this season. I am going to guess. No. That can't be right. No. No, we don't like them. Okay, this is tough. Oh my God, who did we do this season that would have been good? That wouldn't be like near the top. I'm stumped. Like the fact that we're still in the 20s for all of these is like really throwing me. Like I can't just jump to those 30+ point artists.
I'll tell you what, this is an artist. I'll give you a little bit more here.
Okay.
This is an artist who did score a point of X Factor.
Okay.
Who their big hurt was a lower than average cultural impact, but who achieved above average scores in every category.
I'm going to say Fountains of Wayne.
You are incorrect.
Damn. Okay.
You are incorrect, sadly. Fountains of Wayne,
So didn't make it.
29 overall ranked this year with a
Really?
22.8. Yeah,
Shock.
a band that
We
just a
really enjoyed.
1.6 in cultural impact because all they really are known for is
Mm,
Stacy's mom.
mm-hmm.
So that was the real big.
But I just
hurt for
figured
them.
that they did well in basically every other category for us. So
Yeah, they did relatively well in everything. I find myself as a listener of them, if I wasn't as objective as I could be, I would score them higher than we did.
sure.
But I agree with us in terms of keeping it objective. But
Semi.
really enjoyed them. No, I'm talking, of course, of Blue Oyster Cult.
Oh, okay.
With a 29.6.
Gotcha.
And
okay, that doesn't surprise me too much.
Yeah, it's it's right there. They're in the top.
Yeah, I can see them doing very solidly across the board. So
and they did, and I will still say they should work on harmonizing more. That's going to be for what I talk about in terms of Blue Oyster Cult forever now.
Maybe they could be your wait and see. Let's see if the next Blue Oyster Cult album
if they start harmonizing.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I'll be waiting a long time. I think. I think I'll be waiting forever.
All right.
Okay.
That's the first 5. Now
that's
we're
the
doing
first 5.
What, the best of each category?
Yeah, we're gonna keep the good vibes rolling a little bit.
I love it.
So right now we have our 5 categories: cultural impact, breadth of work, instrumental talent, songwriting talent, poetic talent.
Right.
Boom. Okay, all of the things that the two of us agree showcases the strengths or weaknesses of a musical artist.
Sure.
Cultural impact was a little bit rough this year.
Okay, yeah, I could see that.
With an 8.6 capping off the trophy this season.
Yeah, I don't think that's crazy though.
It's not. Listen, I think if there's always an artist in the 9s or 10s, then it diminishes the 9s or 10s.
Exactly.
And I'm looking at it, and I completely agree with the artist we picked, Roy Orbison.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can see that.
Takes the Cultural Impact Award with an 8.6.
I'm wondering, can I guess who the runner-up was?
You absolutely can.
Is it Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers?
It is not Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Really? They must have been damn close.
I can tell you. I can tell you right now.
I mean, there's no chance they weren't in the 8s. They were an 8.3.
They were an 8.3. And in second place was Bobby Darin with an 8.5.
Damn.
So, honestly, it might just be they were around longer.
Yeah,
Roy
I mean, that's
been
what
around
it seems
the block,
like.
And so had Bobby Darin.
It's like the older you are as an influence, the more points you get.
It's almost like you've had a longer time to affect culture.
Yeah, it does feel that way.
If you've been around longer. It is tough. But I think all good scores there. Breadth of work, we had a 3-way first place tie.
Interesting.
Yeah, all with a 7.2. So a lower breadth of work score this season as well. And so we did have Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Okay, they had to be there for one category.
Yeah, we also had Scorpions.
Okay.
And the Carpenters, all with the 7.2. Sure. And then the runner-up for that category, other than the fact that we had a 3-way tie for first, is Bobby Darin again with a 7.1.
A lot of he must have just been an album machine. Because again, someone who died pretty young.
Lot of recording, a lot of albums, and I'm cool with it. Moving on here. Now this one is where it gets we're starting to get into the higher scores.
Okay.
Instrumental talent.
Yeah, we definitely had some of that.
Yeah. So we had a 9.5 winning this category, which is a phenomenal score.
It is.
But it went to Emerson, Lake, and Palmer. So, of course,
that doesn't surprise me at all.
Score.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, of course.
Yes. And narrowly edging out Roger Daltrey, who came in with a 9.4.
Okay. In my brain, he came up. I'm like, Daltrey's one of the greatest voices in rock history. He's got to be close.
Yeah, and he was. He was right there. Moving on into songwriting talent, we have a 2-way tie.
Okay. I think I might know one of them.
Okay, so would you like to give me your guess?
I'd like to give you my guess because we just brought up Roger Daltrey, which makes me think that, again, one of the great writers of rock and roll history would be Pete Townsend. So I'm
And
going to think.
you would be correct. Pete
Oh,
Townsend
nice.
with an 8.3 is one of our winners of the songwriting talent category. And Nick, this is gonna be a great time for you because the Mothers of Invention,
Okay. Yeah.
also win that category with an 8.3.
I like it.
And when I tell you, the next highest in songwriting is a 7.3.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's a full point difference to go to Emerson, Lake, and Palmer as the runners up.
Okay. So I can't argue with any of this.
Well, I would hope not. This is our data.
That's true. We
list.
gave these scores. It's like, yeah, okay, I agree with what I said.
This is just our time to discuss the awards.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Poetic talent. And this one actually shocked me on multiple levels.
Okay.
One, because the winning score is a 6.9. So I feel like another category that really highlights the roughness of the season is the fact that our winner didn't break a 7.
Yeah.
And second off, the thing that shocked me even more than that was that the winner was the Proclaimers.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. They were really good writers,
good at it.
Still are.
The songs they wrote were not what you'd expect from the Proclaimers, and they had a ton of depth to them. It was a well-deserved win.
Sure.
But as somebody, you know,
let me add that to my surprise category.
Yeah. Listen, it was a big surprise for me when I did this. And then in second place, equally surprising, just based on our overall vibe with this group, System of a Down.
Oh, wow.
With a 6.2, which one of the only things they were really good at was writing lyrics.
I mean, I don't even like the way that they're delivered, but they're at least like very message dense.
Yeah, the prose itself was very strong. Okay, and now we're looking at X Factor. Okay. He had to come up at some point. And this is definitely the category for the man, the myth, the mogul, the late great Jimmy Buffett.
Yeah. Okay.
With a 3.5 X Factor.
Yeah.
Because when you
demands
make
an
a
industry,
couple decent hits and then become literally an entire industry yourself,
is his own industry.
You get an X Factor score.
Yeah.
And you get a very high X Factor score of a 3.5. The next highest, the runner-up with a 1.7, Jane's Addiction.
Oh, interesting.
So,
okay,
a very different score and a very different reason to get an X Factor score.
Yeah,
for Jane's
totally.
Addiction. But that's them, and those are our best ofs. Obviously, I didn't go over best overall because that's who wins the season. We're not going to talk about that right now.
But we will talk about 10 through 6.
10 through 6.
All right, we're breaking into the 30s at this point, right?
Yes, we are officially in the 30s.
10 hits the 30 mark? Okay. Or not yet?
Yeah. 10 hits. 10's in the 30s, correct.
Okay, cool.
Don't you worry. We would I would be quite surprised if we
Yikes.
I mean, if we're in the top 10 and not in the 30s,
we gotta agreed.
So I'm gonna let you start guessing from this point.
Shoot.
Okay. And I'll tell you right now, this person scored a 32.5.
Okay. This person.
I know what I said.
Person. Okay. Roy Orbison?
No, you are.
He's got to be in the top 10 somewhere from this season, and he's a single person. So
you're listen. I love your thinking.
Thank you.
I
worked really hard on it.
I would think more a one-man band.
A one-man. Did we just mention him as winning X Factor?
No.
Okay. One-man band.
Yeah, one man
like Tame Impala,
who embodies his former band.
Oh! Is it Townsend?
No.
Jeez.
I'm done. You're done, Nick. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're killing me.
It is John Fogerty.
Okay.
Who embodies sense. All that Creedence Clearwater Revival is and was and will ever be. All right, moving on to number 9. With a 32.6. This is a band that we covered early in the season.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, I'm not going to tell you whether or not they won it, but I'll tell you they were in the running, at least, for biggest surprise of the season for me.
Scorpions.
Scorpions is correct.
Nailed it. I knew they were coming up too.
Yeah, of course. Scorpions, who are well known for one terrible, terrible thing. But well, upon all of the research,
they're all pretty well known for the songs of the 80s too. Yeah, we just happened to listen to a lot of their earlier output and find out that we enjoyed all their 70s albums very much.
Yeah. And good for them. So a 32.6, just edging out Fogerty with that 32.5.
Okay.
Moving on, we have a 32.8, and this is a person.
Is a person I named already?
Yes.
Pete Townsend.
And that is correct. That's who it is.
Very good. Excellent
okay.
work by me.
You did. I mean, honestly, Nick, great deductive reasoning. Have you considered becoming a detective?
I was thinking about it. I was thinking about being like a Hercule Poirot, like Agatha Christie novel style detective, though.
Okay.
Like I don't want to actually have to do the job. I just want to like be on vacation in the Mediterranean, and people will be like, "Oh my God, is that world famous detective?" And then I will solve the murder that happens there.
Okay. Just be careful you don't fall down that slippery slope where there is no murder to solve, so you commit a murder to solve.
No, I rarely have done that.
Okay, good. Yeah. I'm glad to hear it.
Of course.
All right, moving on to number 7. We're at a 33.5.
Okay.
And this is a band.
Okay. I'm going to guess a band that Yeah. I'm going to guess the Mothers of Invention because you brought them up earlier.
And Nick, you are correct. You nailed it.
Let's go.
You nailed it. Now, this next one with a 34. Number
Just
6
straight
overall.
34. Okay.
I think this one is tough because this is someone that I have not mentioned once on this episode so far.
Okay, and it's a someone.
This is like
it's still a person. Oh, God. Who is a person that we haven't mentioned at all that we covered?
That's for you to figure out.
Oh, my God.
I'll let you ask a couple questions if you want. I won't know much.
Would you give me a genre that they perform in?
Ooh, a genre.
Oh man.
They're pretty well known in like the art rock sound.
Okay. Did we cover Bjork this season?
We did not cover Bjork.
That was last season.
It's not Bjork.
Okay.
I'll tell you that. There's some prog like involved in this person as well. There's quite a bit.
Oh man. I don't know why. This is like I'm just drawing a blank. I am totally drawing a blank. We covered 50 different artists this season. That's very
true.
difficult.
You can absolutely bow out if you.
I'm bowing out.
You can get it. It is Peter Gabriel.
Oh, of course.
Yes, it is Peter Gabriel, who we covered on episode 20 this season.
Okay.
Confidently above average in every single category is Mr. Gabriel. Of course, he'd have to be to rank 6th of our
That's
season.
Fair.
But good for him. And those are
proud of him.
Those are our 10 through 6. Well, we have our top 5 coming up.
Excellent.
Before that, though, we're going to take a pause on the positivity. The award show has been, celebrating a lot of successes.
But we need to hear about the failures. They're just as important.
They are just as important, and we're going to cover them. So, our worst of categories. The rules here are slightly different than the rules of the best of.
Right.
So the best of, you can't win more than one category. That's the rule. Mm-hmm. So that's why I have the alternates. Sure. I also have alternates for the worst of, but that's just to tell you more people that sucked this season.
I dig
You
it.
can absolutely lose more than one category.
I love it.
And I'll tell you, between our 5 main categories, we have 3 winners.
Oh, wow. Okay. And I will also add, in terms of rules, if you are a person who does not write your own music, you are only a performer.
Yeah.
Then we're not counting your 0.1s in songwriting and poetic talent towards your score. You can't lose those because it's not your work to lose. That's a good
clarification. It doesn't affect your score, but it also won't automatically put you in the worst. We're looking for the worst people who've actually contributed to those categories.
Exactly.
And we found them.
Oh, good.
Cultural impact.
This one's always just sad because it could be a very good artist who's in this at any given year. And sometimes it has been.
Sometimes it has been. I won't say whether or not it's this time.
All right.
Cultural impact with a 0.1. We have Zebra.
Oh, the Yugoslav Zebra. That makes a lot of sense. I liked their one album.
Their one album wasn't bad. Their one album did all right. Second place with a 0.5 was the American Zebra.
Yeah.
So, really, any Zebra
I really have got to figure out something like that again for future seasons, where they're just 2 bands that have the same name from different countries.
Is there a band called Toast? Because Bread versus Toast would be great.
That would be. You're right. Look into that. Don't worry.
Yeah. I'm sure that'll be on a season now.
Yeah.
If it exists. All right. So, obviously, cultural impact, not great. Breadth of work with a 0.4 is Zebra, Yugoslav Zebra.
Yeah, they only had the one album, and it was in Yugoslavia in the late 70s. What are you going to do? It's not going to sell.
There's not much you can do.
That's a shame.
More than doubling the score of Yugoslav Zebra with a score of 1 was them Crooked Vultures.
Who also, I think, only had one album?
Yeah, but had more
sales and recognition.
More going for them on that one album, we'll say. In terms of sales, and I guess in terms of points we distributed.
Right.
Instrumental talent. And honestly, as much as I don't want to say his name, with a 3.2, losing this category is Kid Rock.
Good.
Who exhibits almost no instrumental talent.
None. Very little.
Very little instrumental talent.
Very little talent of any kind.
Yeah.
Or intellect, or basic human decency, or any good qualities that you can think of about a human or artist.
Yeah, that's he's tall.
Good for him.
Well,
that's making me reconsider being tall. I might want to become short like you.
I'll borrow those inches from you. I mean, if you're giving them away.
Not commenting on that out loud.
No, of course. I mean, the comment about how I borrow your inches all the time would have been well worth it. Okay. Runner up for worst overall instrumental talent. We had Dr. Hook in the Medicine Show with a 3.8.
Yeah, this is just a novelty thing.
Yeah, so one really sucked, and one was like a novel.
Yeah, they were.
Are there any losers really?
No. They were just having fun.
Songwriting talent. We have a tie, but I'm giving it to the person who had more albums.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair.
And that is Miley Cyrus. Our season finale winner.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing when you're a person who you're stuck in that limbo of you do contribute some level of writing to the songs, but also 75 other people have contributed to them as well, and you don't get all their points if you have a team of ghostwriters helping you write every song. You only get partial
credit. And it also helps when the songs aren't all
bad,
that good.
Yeah,
they're all pretty mid to low. Yeah, with some exception. I know I was a little more positive than you were on some of the Miley Cyrus stuff. But she tied with Yugoslav Zebra, who also had a 1.
Which was a positive score for them because
it was
started
one album.
With one album. A 1 on a 1 album means that you gained points.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's like average, right? Because we
Well,
no, it's
point
technically
8.
slightly above average. Point
Yeah,
eight.
it's point 0.8 is for one
Yeah,
album. So we must have liked their songwriting enough to give them just a little bit on that one album.
and I stand by it.
Yeah.
And poetic talent. This is a score I think we were both particularly proud of when we gave it.
Oh, for sure. I know
Uh,
what it is.
yeah, because point ones don't get added to this.
Correct.
But there was an artist we covered this season whose music was so bad, and they contributed to a number of the songs, and lyrically they were just so terrible. And that, of course,
Normally,
is
that would
once again,
yeah. Normally,
once
you'd have
again,
to get a point
yeah,
2 for that.
yeah,
But
but not this guy, Kid Rock, with a .11.
yeah,
Just enough to show that he does get scored in this category.
exactly.
And it's a brutal loss.
It was really just a note for this episode.
Yeah.
Just be like, hey, remember that this guy sucks,
Yeah.
and
Remember,
make
this
sure to
guy
make him a
sucked. We
loser.
could put him the loser here. And he was.
Total
And then
loser.
in second place, or runner up to losing this category, so slightly above, the slight winner of losing this, we had Billy Ray Cyrus, who scored 8 times higher than Kid Rock with a .8.
I thought you were gonna say Zebra again.
No.
They probably also had a .8. It must have been one of those things where we were just like, it's not in English, so just give them the average for one album.
I think I
can only
looked up.
assume.
Oh yeah, that's what happened. So they technically had a .7 here,
Ugh.
but I chose to ignore that since it
They've-
was fully
Yeah,
not in English.
we've been beating them up for long enough.
It was fully not in English, and all
It's
of
not
Billy
their
Ray
fault.
Cyrus's songs are in English. And
That's true.
you know what? I'm not going to give them that score.
That's fair.
Some other
We don't know enough, and I don't even know whether they spoke like Slovak or
yeah. It was not a score.
Serbian.
We were never going to fully score the poetic talent of a band who does not sing anything close to English. Some other people that could have potentially lost this category, but I skipped over because I wanted to dunk on Billy Ray Cyrus a bit. Dr. Hook and the Medicine Show, they got a .2.
But that's because Shel Silverstein wrote most of their lyrics.
Correct. Shel Silverstein wrote more than most of their lyrics. A very limited number were written by any member of the band.
And they were not good.
So they could definitely have scored. They could have definitely lost this episode. But then I wouldn't have mentioned how much we didn't like Billy Ray Cyrus's poetic talent.
True.
And I felt like that was worth it.
That's fair.
Yeah.
It was
it was an Academy decision. But
yeah.
I stand
I stand by it as well.
But unfortunately, the overall loser of the worst score this season does go to Yugoslav Zebra.
Yeah.
With a 7.4. They were the only artist this year to hit our F tier.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
It's not, one album. No one knows who you are. You're
Yeah.
from a country that doesn't exist anymore.
It's rough.
It's tough.
It's tough.
What are you going to do?
Now, before we get into our, positive, going back to the top 5 and the winner and all that stuff, let's talk about our personal awards.
I would love to.
So why don't we take a start here with the biggest surprise for you this season?
Sure. I have a positive and a negative surprise.
Okay.
My negative surprise was we were doing what was mostly a decent episode. And we get to the 6th album. You already know what I'm going to say.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
It was the final Pete Townsend album that was like very surprisingly all about artists and their relationships with underage girls in a very weird and uncomfortable way that we were not prepared for.
It was so awkward.
And I was surprised. I will be honest. Yeah. I was surprised by that.
So that what you're describing the album is Psycho Derelict, which we did cover on the episode. And it's a rock opera, and it is strange.
It's bizarre.
Yes, it is. It is very, very strange.
Uh-huh. Okay, so that was my negative surprise was dealing with that. My positive surprise is a little bit broader, and we've already hinted at it in a couple ways. but it was the success of a lot of metal artists or ostensibly metal artists on the podcast this season. So we definitely got more than we expected from groups like UFO. I think Blue Oyster Cult grew on both of us a good bit. Not that we didn't like the hits and stuff like that before. I think we found out that even a group that we were prepared to probably hate a lot, like a Whitesnake, um, like had some positive early work.
Yeah.
And then the biggest one is obviously Scorpions. Like Scorpions was the artist this season where we are like not expecting anything new, like two of their big 80s hits, and then heard all their music from the 70s and went, wow, like this is a good group. Like they put out a lot of good music. So I'm just going to say generally, like as of the last season or so, the metal bands have been kind of, now there's still been some ones that we didn't like, but normally that's a genre that I don't expect to get like 50 or 60% of the bands going like, oh, you know what? Actually, this is really good. And that's what we got.
Listen, I completely agree with you. I didn't pick Scorpions. I came very close. They were in the running.
Yeah.
I had them as a runner up just in case you picked my surprise, but I thought you might have picked Scorpions. So
Sure.
I'm glad that you incorporated it in there. The biggest surprise for me was easily Fountains of Wayne, though.
Sure. Yeah, and I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, a band that I knew Stacy's mom. And it's a fine song. It's, it's fun. It's like a fun thing to sing because people really get into it when you're singing it at a gig. But that's really kind of it. And to find out that Stacy's mom is far and away the worst Fountains of Wayne song, and it's not even close. And almost every other Fountains of Wayne song and album is like really deep and like interesting lyrically and dynamic in terms of their overall sound, and they sound different. They have two different writers coming at it, which is always what I consider a good thing in bands because it makes every album have like this like almost like blended tone to it of two different influences. Really, really surprising all the way through. We listened to 4 Fountains of Wayne albums because we covered one of them on Best of the Rest. All 4 were great and got added to my regular listening.
Yeah,
like,
enjoyed every one
to my
of them,
playlist
for sure.
So they were easily my biggest surprise. Moving on to the biggest disappointment. I had one cheeky answer, but also kind of real answer.
Sure.
And then one more specific answer.
Sure, go ahead.
The cheeky answer was this season.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Because as we mentioned with our scoring, like there was a lot of duds this season. There's a lot of listening where you're just like, oh, we had more than one episode this season where like the winner got like a 23.
Sure.
Like the winner of this episode was rough.
And I'm okay with that happening a few times as long as it's like new young artists who are like starting with a couple of albums but are really good. They're just not known yet and they don't have sales. Like give me a season of 23s of artists with like 3 albums or less who are like really good in developing something, But
fully agree there. However, that's not what we had this season.
No.
For most of these. But the more specific one that I had was Psycho Derelict as its own entity, but also the overall process, which is not just this season, but just like the more annoying thing where it's like you just every time we had an artist come up, it's like, oh, what were they in jail for? What's the terrible thing that this artist did that I got to talk about on this episode?
Yeah, that becomes
how many
tiring.
of them involve like inappropriate contact with minors? More than one? Great.
Yep.
Like, it's a rough time. So the biggest disappointment for me was that aspect of this season, but also kind of just Psycho Derelict and how weird it was and how it really changed my opinion of Pete Townsend for a while there of just like, what are you doing?
That's fair. That's totally fair. And I have, for my biggest disappointment also, I have something that I fully expected to not enjoy, and I was right. But it was
Mm.
still a huge disappointment for me, and I learned more about that this season, essentially. So my biggest disappointment is Ariana Grande. And I went into
That's
this
fair.
knowing that I would hate all of her music. Like, top 40 pop music is just not for me. Like, it's not going to connect.
I
It's
get it.
not for me. I don't like it.
Wait, you're not a
But
15-year-old girl?
I know, exactly. But the problem was listening to her and finding out, like, oh, she has all of the talent that any singer could ever have. Like, she could easily have done anything. And
Yeah.
what she ended up with was a career avoiding anything remotely musically interesting or artistic. And that is annoying for someone who is so immensely talented. And so I was disappointed in that.
Let's see. Let's see. Just to make you more disappointed.
Oh, good.
If I, how much money do you think Ariana Grande is worth with her amazing talent, but as you mentioned,
Doing
avoidance of
nothing.
all things musically deep?
Yeah. I'm gonna say $112 million.
Close. $240 million.
Yeah, that's about right.
So
Okay.
clearly she did what worked, but I
Look, I
get where you're
don't
coming
blame
from.
you for making that choice to be worth
No.
240, but it just sucks as a person who cares about the music.
I listen, all I'll say is T Swift's worth $1 billion and we like
Yep.
more of her music than we don't.
Yeah. Although, how many albums did she put out before? Maybe she could do things that she felt more comfortable doing.
It's true.
There's something to that.
It's true. I think I think it was just the music that she was putting out before she had a choice was also good music.
Sure. I mean,
Like there
relatively.
are some clankers in there, don't
Yeah,
get me wrong.
definitely.
I don't like
I mean, there are
every song
two
from
albums
early
of
Taylor
hers that I
Swift.
will re-listen to on a
Folklore and
regular
Evermore.
basis, and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. But
But
she's got
if you gave me the choice between the discographies of the two, it's an obvious choice.
yeah, and I'm with you there.
All right, so I'll go into biggest upset then.
Yeah, go into biggest upset.
And this was really tough because I looked at the scores, I looked at the matchups and who won every episode, trying to figure this out. And I was like, pretty much like, yeah, that tracks for almost every single matchup. But I will say that just based on my understanding of these artists coming in and of how long they were around and of how like visible they were to me through their work in the general zeitgeist, I expected Roy Orbison to beat Bobby Darin. And it was really close. It was a really close episode, but I would have expected Roy Orbison to win, and he lost by a little bit. And that was also your answer.
That was also my answer. I was like, that's such a specific thing. Yeah, but I'm with you. I was absolutely going into that episode expecting Roy Orbison to win.
Totally.
And Roy Orbison, I mean, listen, it was close, but
they both did well.
0.6.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like a 0.1 or 0.2. Like Bobby Darin handily won that episode. I was not expecting it. I was very surprised by it.
No, yeah, I wasn't expecting that at all.
I honestly, I didn't even have a backup for that. I was so
I couldn't come up with anything.
It was so obvious to me that was the upset.
It just everything else seemed like it made sense this season.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised by any other win or loss. So we'll just live in that.
Now, can I ask you a question before we go any further? Could we do the worst album listen before we do wait and see, or would that offend you in some way?
No, it would not offend me at all.
Excellent.
I'll start the worst album listen. And it was really tough because as we both have mentioned a few times throughout this, there was a lot of
bad albums.
There was a lot of bad albums. I could have gone with the early Miley Cyrus albums. I could have gone with any of the Ariana Grande stuff that I didn't really enjoy that early stuff from her.
Yep.
But I really just fucking hate Kid Rock.
Me too.
I hate him so much.
So much.
And all of
personally.
Yeah, personally.
As an individual.
Yes, but also as an artist.
Yes.
It was like the early Kid Rock stuff where he was trying to be like Detroit hood rap. but like was none of those
And
things.
grew up very wealthy.
Yeah, grew up like a very wealthy suburbanite, but tried to act like he was from the inner city of Detroit and like compare himself to that. Like, was just so fake and fucking annoying to me to listen to. It was by far the worst album listen because now that same dude who was like, oh, I grew up on the streets of Detroit. No, you didn't. You grew up on like a Silver Spoon farm, you dummy.
Yep.
Is now sitting there like being a piece of shit in the other direction, like hoarding his money like a dragon and being like, oh, the rich, like, let me deal with all the. No, like you can't have both. And in fact, the fact that you want both means you're neither.
Yes.
So that was my worst listen of the season was Kid Rock.
Okay, fair enough. And I also had a list of artists who I considered here, several of whom you've mentioned. I will also put a shout out, even though they have their fan base. Like we hated listening to Korn. As a general rule.
Yeah. It was
Motley Crue's last album in particular was god awful. Pandering nonsense. I'll throw out, you mentioned Miley's first album being particularly bad. Billy Ray is particularly pandering and bad as well. And all of Kid Rock's albums were terrible. But instead of his first album, I'm actually going to go with his most recent album as the worst album that we've because I chose that. I remember writing in my notes that week that I've decided that it was officially the worst album of recorded music ever made by anyone ever.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good.
Because it's just such pandering bullshit. It's just like, hey, let's just like join a cult, come up with the most crazy phrases and sayings of the cults and turn that into like a song. And that's just what we'll be. We're just going to be fully within our little sphere of know-nothingism. So the most recent Kid Rock album is the worst album I've ever heard. I think it is the worst album in music history. And that brings me to my Wait and See award, which I am giving to Kid Rock. And I'm giving it to Kid Rock because here is the thing. After hearing his most recent album, I am genuinely wondering at this point, like, where else is there to go?
This is not a good wait and see. I get it.
No. Like, I just genuinely, the only thing I can think of is like, the only place he can go from here is to make a video album that's just like a sex tape of him and Donald Trump. Like, I have no idea based on what he has done with his public persona and how he has turned that into what his music is. The only way, and just because he's outrageous for the sake of being outrageous, that is the only thing I can even muster as a guess.
Okay. Now,
you know what I mean? Like, that would be the only thing I could think of.
Hear me out, because you're saying that like if that would be a bad thing. Now, hold on.
Okay. Are you watching that video?
I'm watching it. If I find out that the end of it is Kid Rock standing over the Trumpster, just getting ready to give him the money shot while singing "ball with the ball, the ball, the ball." Bang,
that's wrong. That's wrong, and I'll tell you why. And the answer is because obviously in this scenario, Kid Rock is the bottom.
Oh,
he's gonna act. He's gonna act like he's the top and that he's all tough and cool, but he's clearly the bottom in this scenario.
Which is again, all that's doing is meaning I won't watch the video. I'm saying the only way I would watch the video is if that was the end.
Sure.
Whether it's statistically likely to be the end,
very unlikely to be the end.
I'm just saying. Yeah. If I found out that's how that video ended, I'm watching that video because that'll be the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life.
It would be funny.
That would catapult Kid Rock immediately from the basement of my artists to the one level above the basement. I still wouldn't like any of his work, but I would like that. That would be my favorite Kid Rock song.
But yeah, anyway, long story short, Kid Rock is such a disgusting, soulless, sellout, nothing burger of a human that I'm waiting and seeing what he does next. Is like, because at this point it could only be to like literally just gag upon Donald Trump and release the sounds of that gagging as an album.
Hold on. It could be the Pac-Man effect. So if you play Pac-Man, you've played Pac-Man.
I'm familiar with the game.
If you go far enough in one direction, you like teleport to the other side.
I
So maybe
really
he'll
don't see that.
eventually go so far down, he'll reappear at the top and make the greatest artist recovery, and make the greatest album in recorded music history.
I mean, maybe, but I feel like you have to be like a somewhat halfway reasonably marginally intelligent person to do that, and he's clearly not.
Well, I tried.
Yeah.
So my wait and see award.
Okay.
It was difficult this season.
It was yes.
Statistically,
You see where I had to go with it.
statistically, there was not a lot of artists that haven't achieved or that still have a chance to achieve
Exactly.
this season. I went with an artist who we disliked the music of, but I felt a slight trend in the right direction, and am hopeful that the new albums will continue to do that. And that's Miley Cyrus.
Okay, I had a feeling.
Miley Cyrus has already achieved musical greatness. She is a household name. She had the whole Hannah Montana thing. She was extremely popular. She was an icon and a sensation. Her music sucked for a lot of it. It's fun and catchy in certain instances. Like I like, Party in the USA is a fun bop, but it's not musically relevant really.
Sure.
It's catchy. It's a tune. Mm-hmm. Some of the tracks on her most recent album are songs. Some of them. There are still some that are bad. I'm not saying it was like a good album.
Totally,
but there were some songs that were good. And I think the maturity in her voice, and if she is able to continue along that path, I'm most curious about what the next Miley Cyrus album will look like, as opposed to pretty much anyone else that we listen to. I don't think Ariana Grande is going to get significantly better. Her next album will be fun for me to listen to because it's going to be the movie soundtrack to Wicked. And I enjoy that because it's musical theater. But I don't think that counts.
That's fair. I was just really hoping that you were going to pick Yugoslav Zebra, and you were going to personally try to get them back together.
I thought about picking Yugoslav Zebra. Like, they only have one album. What
exactly?
What allow them to be?
What could have been?
But no. So that's my wait and see award winner. It's Miley. I hold out hope that if this album that she just came out with was 33% good and 66% terrible, maybe next album will be 50-50.
Sure.
Maybe the album after that will be 66-33. And then by like album 10 or by album like 15, they're going to be bangers, and not bangers.
No,
not with a Z.
That was a terrible
bangers
record.
With an S. So that's my wait and see.
Okay.
Miley Cyrus, little known artist. Miley Cyrus is my wait
One
and
day
see
she shall emerge.
Now, highest and lowest rated episodes. I feel like you could get both of these, Nick.
Okay. I do think I know this. The lowest has got to be the Zebra v Zebra.
It is Zebra v Zebra.
It's got to be. Now the highest.
Their average score was an 11.8.
Yeah.
That's a rough listen.
Now the highest, there's actually two that I think are really, really close at the top.
Okay.
And here's the thing. I think we've already started to mention artists from each one in the top 15, and each one also has an artist that we haven't mentioned in the top 15. So I'm going to say it's down to the two individual gentlemen who sung and the two prog rock artists. And it's going to be really, really, really close between where their scores averaged out.
I love what you're thinking. I love all of what you're thinking.
Okay.
Give me one. Just pick one.
I will say Bobby Darin and Roy Orbison.
And you are correct.
Whew.
With a 34.8 average score.
What was the average of the other one?
V. Roy Orbison. You were thinking, of course, of Emerson, Lake and Palmer v. The Mothers of Invention,
Yeah.
episode 18, 34.35.
Whew. Okay.
So it was very close.
Yeah, and no one else was going to be that close.
No, you absolutely were correct with the scores there. Bobby Darin versus Roy Orbison was the biggest upset of the season, as we our consensus pick,
right?
and
yeah.
it was our highest rated episode. Both of them, I think, truly both of them exceeded our expectations.
Yeah,
because
I think so
had
too.
firm expectations for Roy Orbison that he exceeded with his music, and I had medium-sized expectations for Bobby Darin, and he vastly exceeded them.
I think both artists we knew on reputation and a handful of tunes, but we didn't really know their discography going in.
Sure. And that's that. Now, there's really only one thing left.
Top 5? Well, we know two of the top 5 right away. And I know a third.
I should adjust the scoring so it's not just the top 5 based on episode. Because that would have
I would agree.
That would have had artists that we weren't going to be talking about here.
Yeah.
Okay. Top 5.
Okay.
With a score of 34.2.
Okay.
This is a band.
Could they be this low? Okay. It's a band. I don't think it's the two that we already mentioned. And the only other one that's coming to my brain is Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
And Nick, you're correct.
They're 5, really? Okay.
They're the number 5. We covered them in episode 4 this season. We did cover one of their albums in Best of the Rest.
Yes, of course.
Really, I don't want to say carried because they did well in every category. Their highest score was Cultural Impact.
Yeah.
And I did notice that Cultural Impact is a pretty decent indicator of our higher scores here.
Because a lot of artists can do well in the other things and then falter there, you know?
Exactly. I think having a high cultural impact is one of the categories that helps you the most overall.
For sure.
Because you can have artists that do well. Like,
it's the one thing that's less in your control.
Yeah.
You know, like you can be a great songwriter, great writer of lyrics, but not sell that many albums or like show up that much, and most people don't know who you are. And it's like,
I think it's more common that an artist is very talented and doesn't achieve greatness than achieves what we would consider greatness, but doesn't do well in every other category.
Right.
Like an artist, like I think Ariana Grande is a character, is a person who has like a 7.8 crazy cultural impact.
Yeah.
For score. That's a very high score, but you know, the rest of the stuff is kind of mid.
Poetry, that's not gonna do too well for her.
But Tom Petty with an 8.3 in cultural impact, and it shows.
Okay.
Number 4. This is a person who scored a 34.5.
Oh, I just remembered another. Okay, it's got to be Jimmy Buffett then. After everything that we talked about with the industry around him. All right, well, he's got to be up in the top 3 then. Who else? Is it Fogerty? Did we say Fogerty?
We already said Fogerty. He's number 10.
Gabriel? Peter Gabriel?
No, we already said Peter Gabriel. He's number 6.
I got nothing then.
It's the Orbs himself, Roy Orbison.
Oh, okay, duh. I don't know why, for whatever reason, I picked those 2 losers and I had them in the top 3 and I was storing them away.
I get it.
No.
That's fair. But yeah, Roy Orbison, number 4 with a 34.5. Also being helped by his cultural impact score. That 8.6 goes a long way. It was the highest score we had for cultural impact.
Okay, then I think I know the top 3.
I think you might as well. So number 3.
I'm saying Jimmy Buffett.
34.7 was Jimmy Buffett.
Okay.
Number 2. Okay. With a 35.1.
See, this is where it comes down to.
I'm going to tell you it's a person.
Then Bobby Darin.
Yeah. I didn't want you to announce our winner because I think you know who it is.
I do.
And I'll tell you what.
I am shocked that they won the season. Great band, though.
Great band. A band who, wasn't really in the running for a ton. I mean, they did win one of the categories in our best of.
Yeah.
But weren't in the running for a lot of them. It was just
They were just
consistently
consistently
high
high.
score. Pretty much the consistent bronze medalist, you would say.
Okay.
Winning this season with a 35.2, beating Bobby Darin by 0.1, Emerson, Lake, and Palmer.
Yeah. Okay. We'll
ELP,
send them out their
congratulations.
awards.
Your award is in the mail if you want it.
That's right.
You have to send me a letter requesting it.
Exactly. Yeah. That's all.
Yeah, I will not give you my address. I figure you're famous enough that you'll be able to have people for that.
They'll just figure it out.
Get a skip tracer, find me that way.
Yeah.
And then you send me a letter telling me you want an award, and I will make you a trophy.
That's right. Yeah, I'd gladly, honestly.
You also have to be on an episode of the show.
I wouldn't say no to that.
Not an episode where we interview. No, I want to be clear. Not an episode where we interview you as like members of.
We just would
ELP.
like your input.
Yeah, no, we're gonna give you 2 artists. You got to listen to 3 albums. We're just a normal episode.
Okay, I like it.
I would kind of love that where it's not even about the person. It's just like
hey, thanks for showing up. It's time to get to work.
Yeah, you, me, and one of the members of ELP.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who's okay. Carl Palmer is alive.
Yeah, it might have to be Carl Palmer.
So, is Greg Lake alive? No, Greg Lake is not.
Lake's
Keith
not
Emerson
alive.
is not.
Keith Emerson's
So it's
not alive.
Only Carl Palmer.
It's Carl Palmer.
Okay, so Carl Palmer, we are calling out to you.
If I remember, it wasn't. Am I crazy for remembering that there was like? Doesn't Carl Palmer do like? Drumming art? Is that Palmer?
I don't know. It's a good question.
Somebody we covered this season makes like actual paintings, like art, not just like, but like using drums.
Huh.
Like the drums create like beats that go through a program that create like this like digital painting.
I believe it, but I don't know. I mean, that's possible.
I want to double check that.
All right, I'll let you get on that. And while you're doing that, here's what I'll say about the.
I'm correct. Carl Palmer does do that. I was like,
excellent.
That reminds me. So honestly, I would love to talk to him about that while also doing a normal episode of Totem Talks.
Okay, I'm in. All right, Carl, looking forward to hearing from you.
Yeah.
Season 7.5 though is what comes next. And as always, and by always I mean we've only done this one other time before, there's an overarching category. There will be 4 different matchups that fall within it. And this season's category is simply the 90s. So there will be a pretty wide array of artists in different genres, but they're all going to have either, put out most of their work or gotten together or hit their creative peak or their peak in fame in the 1990s.
Yep.
Obviously, many artists then go on to continue being together after the 1990s are over. There is some precedent for not all bands who are together in the 90s breaking up on January 1st, 2000.
Yeah.
But these artists will be known well for their 90s work in particular.
Completely. I would argue that we peaked in the 90s.
Definitely. Yeah. Around 1991 for me.
No, I think we both peaked in June of 92. I think
yeah.
We were born.
Earth was
peaked,
about.
It's just been downhill ever since.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're right.
I'm looking forward to that. There is one more quick addendum that we got to cover here, Nick.
I'm ready.
There's only 4, but we got to do some tiebreakers.
Oh, okay. Very good.
So this season we had 4 ties.
Should I be adding these into a score on the spreadsheet officially?
Yeah, give them the 0.1 to you give them a 0.1 on there.
Okay, done.
So, the first 2.
Okay.
We're starting with our worst and working up.
I love it.
So, with a 15.4 total score tie, we have American Zebra and We the Kings. Wait, I lied. American Zebra is not
total.
Involved.
Okay, I see.
American Zebra is not involved. It is We the Kings and Dr. Hook and the Medicine Show.
Gotcha. Oh, okay. This is overall score, so I don't have to add anything. I thought it was like maybe categories, and we are going to see who the winner
Oh
was.
no. We're
I'm just
just
leaving
doing
them.
overall
Whatever.
score.
There's a billion artists. We've covered 476 artists, so
Yeah. Oh,
I'm
we're
leaving
not.
it
Yeah,
alone.
we're
We
not
got ties.
even. Nick,
Uh,
the tie list of the overall score sheet is impossible to parse through, my
yeah,
friend.
not gonna be.
There are some where it's like, okay,
We
this is a 3-way tie. Once you get into the mid-tier categories,
yeah,
there's like 5-way ties, 6 or
sure.
7-way
And
ties.
once we cover like 550 artists or whatever, then it would literally be impossible for us to not have ties.
Correct.
But anyway, I'm gonna give it to We the Kings, and here's my reasoning. My reasoning is this: Cover the Rolling Stone is the best song between the two of them. But We the Kings didn't have any like really weird songs about underage girls on their only album that they wrote themselves.
Nick, that was my exact reasoning as well.
Excellent.
So I'm glad we agree on that. Here we go with another tie with
Excellent.
a 20.2. We have the Fabulous Thunderbirds versus the Trogs.
Okay. This is tougher.
There's not a very clear predatory album
Yeah,
on one of
exactly.
these.
But I'm going to give the nod to Jimmy Vaughn.
Okay.
And give the Fabulous Thunderbirds the edge, unless you disagree.
I do not disagree.
Excellent.
I do not disagree, and therefore I agree.
Yeah, that fair enough.
Okay. This one we can talk about, but I think you're going to know where I stand on this. With a 22.8, we had a tie between Fountains of Wayne and Night Ranger.
That Fountains of Wayne.
Yeah, Fountains of Wayne.
Close.
Clear winner on that one.
Clear winner.
Fountains of Wayne continued to impress. And then here's another one where I think there's a clear winner, but
I love it.
I will leave it to you.
Yeah.
The Cult versus Jane's Addiction, both with the 26.2.
For me, it's going to be Jane's Addiction.
And I agree with you.
Okay. I wasn't sure because you were kind of bigger on the Cult than you expected to be.
I was bigger on the Cult than I expected to be, but I've always enjoyed Jane's Addiction.
Yeah, we had differences on how we felt about the lead vocalist.
Yes.
But Jane's Addiction is to me the answer.
Give me Kevin McGee singing Jane's Addiction though for the win.
Oh, for sure. I mean, he's got a high enough voice to do it, but I do not.
He does. A high enough singing voice. That is always my favorite thing about Kevin is his singing voice and speaking voice are so backwards. Anybody who doesn't know, Kevin, good friend, former bandmate, still good friend. His speaking voice is like this, like, "Hey, I'm Kevin. What's up?" And then he's up there, so he's a high tenor vocally.
Treats me like a rag doll.
He just has an incredible head voice. Like you have a lower speaking voice, but when you get up there, it's clearly falsetto.
Clearly,
that's the difference between you and Kevin. Is like that's his like mix, his like head voice mix. Mm-hmm. It's not a falsetto for him. I don't understand how he does it. How his actual speaking voice can be down here and low. Like my speaking voice is like higher, but like it's
not
middle
really
of the road.
Yeah.
But his is lower than mine, and then he sings higher than me. It's crazy.
You're right.
Well, Nick, that's everything I got, man.
And this ends season 7 and begins season 7.5.
We are officially, we're in there.
We're in there, like swimwear.
If you are, like I said, if you're new to Totem Talks, the little half season is a good entry point. It's only 4 episodes, so it's a good little taste of what our episodes are like. It's usually the half seasons are a little more loosey goosey. We're discussing them. We're discussing the themes and stuff, but it's it's chill.
It is.
I think a good jumping off point to get into the.
I agree.
The meat and potatoes. Sometimes when you tell somebody like
sort of like a hard boiled egg, in that it is a jumping off point.
And yes, we all routinely jump off of hard boiled eggs.
Always.
I Why not? They're the greatest surface to jump off of. They're very
I
bouncy.
mean, it's an egg. You put it on your desk.
Yeah.
When you go to work.
Oh man. Okay, I'm gonna leave you with a thought process.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay. You have a choice. You have to eat. You have to eat a week-old egg.
Ugh.
I know the egg part is what's really putting you off here.
I'm not a big egg fan.
I know, but you have to eat a week-old egg.
Okay.
Okay, and listeners, you pay attention to this. How would you like your egg prepared? That's the thought. Okay,
Scrambled.
And no, don't just give me an off the cuff, because you're gonna come back next week.
All right, I'll think it over.
And you're gonna think it over, and you're gonna give me a thought out answer on how you want the week-old egg prepared.
Okay.
Okay.
Fair enough.
And I want you all to think about that. I want all of your answers.
Okay, done.
And most importantly, have a great day.
Okay.
Good.
Excellent. Just where we needed to be.
All right. And that's it.
So ends 7 seasons of this show.
It's pretty wild, man.
It is wild.
It's pretty wild. I saw that total number of artists jump 476. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, we're crossing the 500 threshold next season.
Yeah.
Early on, I mean, we'll be at 484 after the half season.
Yeah.
Which means it will be episode 8. That's our big episode.
We'll have to celebrate it.
And you know what it is? Episode 8 of season 8?
I don't.
It is the Battle of the Birds for that season. Yes.
Good.
So I'm glad we have a classic Totem Talks favorite theme.
Yeah.
To bring us into 500 artists.
No, I love that. That is awesome.
Yes.
Oh man, so many artists.
Yeah.
Let's see. Who do you think is the most instrumental talent only?
Okay.
Top 3 overall.
Give me Dream Theater.
I will not give you Dream Theater.
Really?
I'll give you Dream Theater. They're tied. The third is tied.
Okay.
Third is a 3-way tie.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I lied. If we're really going to do this right, second is a 4-way tie, and then third. So I'll give you Dream Theater at 2.
Chicago.
I will not give you Chicago.
Zeppelin.
I will give you Zeppelin at 2.
Cream.
I will give you Cream at 2.
Okay. Dixie Dregs.
I will give you Dixie Dregs at 3.
Tedeschi Trucks Band.
I will not give you Tedeschi Trucks Band. They're close.
Allman
They're
Brothers?
at 9.5. Allman Brothers also at a 9.5. So they're both at 4.
Okay.
There's a
That's
couple
tough,
here that you would not be expecting.
It's, the early seasons, I feel like we graded on a much less harsh or regimented.
I would agree.
I
would agree we've gotten more jaded as we've started to grade. I think if we went back and graded, although I don't know because our average is staying the same. Like, I think if we graded season 7 and season 1, the scores wouldn't have changed by much.
Interesting.
Like, I mean, 23.8, I think we would be maybe in the low 24s in the grading. I might have gone up a little bit. But there's one very obvious one that you're missing, and there's one
Elton John.
Elton John is number 1, 9.9.
Okay.
But there's one very obvious in the 2 and one
Ray
very
Charles.
obvious in the 3. Ray Charles is not.
Feel like they would have been scored similarly.
I agree. Where is Ray Charles?
Probably dead and in the ground.
Well, that's a great point. Ray Charles. We had him lower on Instrumental Talent. We only had him at an 8. Must be the vocals.
Oh man, I love Ray's voice.
Listen. I love Ray's voice, but I think he loses something in range in comparison to some of this other stuff. And also I think Elton, in comparison to them as both piano players, Ray Charles is much more like of a sensual player. Whereas I think a lot more of what Elton John does is like technically proficient. I think that's maybe the difference. Do not mistake me. I fucking love Ray Charles. I love his voice. I love his piano work. Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know who I'm missing.
Okay.
I don't know.
I'll tell you one that you're missing that I thought you might get is Deep Purple.
Shit, yeah, okay.
Deep Purple up there with a 9.8.
It's hard to remember exactly which 476 artists we've covered and how we felt about them at the time.
There's one that I would have been shocked if you got at a 9.6, Nickel Creek.
Okay, yeah. That makes sense.
Love them, but definitely one that I saw them up here. I'm like, interesting.
Oh, right. Deserving. I mean, very good.
For sure. For sure. I love our top 3 for poetic talent. Couldn't be 3 more different people if you tried. Phil Oakes at number 1. He's our only 10.
Yeah. Tracy Chapman.
Tracy Chapman at number 2 with a 9.7.
Ben Folds.
Ben Folds at number 3 with a 9.5. Boom.
That was pretty good.
But 3 very different people. You got them in order. 3 very, very different people. Let's see. Let's look at songwriting real quick. We've never had a 10 at songwriting.
No. But the Beatles have got to be the closest.
The Beatles are 9.7.
Yeah.
So we have one number 1, we have 1 number 2, and we have 3 number 3s. We won't do cultural impact because that's different. That's less.
Yeah, songwriting. Is it someone we've mentioned before at all who's in this top? Deep Purple?
No.
Zeppelin?
No.
No.
It's 2 someones that we mentioned, but
Tracy Chapman?
No.
Rush up there.
So
somewhere?
here's the thing. Rush is not up here. Rush is they're down pretty low. They're at a 7.8.
Okay. Down pretty low.
Well, down pretty low for what we're talking about. Our scores are a 9.7 and 9.2 and then 3 9s.
Okay. So, no one from this most recent season.
No. We're looking at season 2, season 3, season 1, and season 6 for the ones you haven't
Is
guessed.
Ben Folds up there again?
Ben Folds is up there, yes, with a 9 for songwriting. This is a crazy journey.
Jethro Tull.
Jethro Tull is the one, yeah. He's a number 2 with a 9.2. Okay. That's that was the one that we haven't mentioned at all in a long time.
Yeah, but deserving.
Oh, of course. I think all of them are deserving.
Yeah.
The last 2 are the 2. The last 2 are 3. So they both have a score of 9. You got Ben Folds in this category, and there's 2 other ones that also have 9.
Chicago?
No. One is a band, one is a solo artist. We have mentioned already.
Joni Mitchell?
No. Joni Mitchell is just under with an 8.7.
Yikes. I don't know. Is there a hint?
The single artist topped one of the categories we already did.
Elton John?
Elton John.
Okay.
With a 9. And then I don't even have a hint for this one. We cover 2 of their songs back to back as a band.
Okay.
We only cover them back to back. We never
the
cover
Kinks, then.
Yeah, the Kinks.
Yeah.
We only ever cover them back
okay.
to back. The Kinks block. Yeah, also scored a 9.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, Joni Mitchell's up here. Fleet Foxes with a high score on this too, 8.5.
Yeah.
Love Fleet Foxes.
Yeah, we didn't have. I mean, I agree with that score, but I just feel like the early seasons we didn't necessarily have a lot. We didn't have like a criteria fully fleshed out or understood as much.
Always willing to do a re-rank at some point.
Maybe.
I mean, we have so many artists we haven't, like, maybe once we get through, maybe after season like 10.
Okay.
We can do like we each pick.
Maybe we could do it as a half season or something. We each pick 4 artists that we'd like to reevaluate and listen to 3 different albums or something.
Yeah. I'd be down for that. We could look into that. So that's always a possibility. There's a couple. I mean, there's a couple that I'd like to take a second look at that scored either high or low that we can reevaluate.
I agree.
Mostly in the first season.
Yeah.
Some of the scores in the first season are. It's also tough because, I mean, we're looking at like. Although, I mean, I stand by those scores. I was going to say NSYNC scored an 18, and I thought that was going to be high. Based on, but like, I mean, we're looking like the 3s for everything.
Yeah.
You know.
That's true.
Yeah, like maybe like Oasis.
That would be. Yeah, that's kind of the thing.
Yeah,
it's like the earlier we were in
plus,
this,
honestly,
the hardest.
It was 4 years ago. Some of these artists might have other stuff out. Like
true,
Greta Van Fleet has a new album out since we.
At least one, yeah.
So that'll definitely change their breadth of work score.
Yeah, definitely.
If nothing else.
Definitely.
Cool, good stuff.
All right. Well, my dinner is here.
Cool.
So I must be getting to that.
I would recommend now. What you do with dinner, Nick, is you're supposed to eat it. So, like in your mouth.
Is this some sort of fetish thing?
Just try it and get back to me on the results. I think you're going to enjoy it.
Okay, Pat.
What are you having?
Senor salsa. So 4 enchiladas, 1 cheese and onion, 1 spinach, and 1 bean.
I'm glad you and I are very similar on that. Like, whenever there's something that comes in multiple, I can never just have the same thing on those multiples.
Oh, right? I like options. I like getting different things. And that's the thing. The reason why I get it is not only do you get, because there are other vegetarian options, but I always get the vegetarian supreme because I don't want to be like, okay, well, I got spinach and rice and cheese, but I didn't get lettuce and pico and beans and onions. Like, I want to get the meal that has as many different things going on as possible.
Diversify your palate. I totally get that.
Exactly. Okay, bye.
All right, enjoy. I'll talk to you later, buddy.
See you Saturday.
Adios. All right, that's gonna wrap us up for our season 7 award show, which officially puts the pin on season 7. We have officially moved into the half season now, season 7.5, which is now that's what I call the 90s. So tune in for that. Hopefully you enjoy it, and otherwise, have a great day.